And welcome to the Skolo Online YouTube channel, the channel that is all about learning. You can visit our website on https://skolo.online. You will find more courses on what we teach right here on this YouTube channel and much more. Remember to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so that you'll be notified every time we have new content. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to build an online image repository. It's going to be a website where you can download images and group them into categories for future use in any other project. So the homepage of the website that we're going to be building looks like this. We're going to adapt this template from Bootstrap 5 available free templates, and I've created so far 4 different image categories. You would be able to, for example, if you pick technology, it will take you to a category page for images that we have uploaded under technology, and you can see the image, a short description of the image. And if you want, you can click on there and have a look at the details of the images. We've got 3 different image sizes. We've got a square image size, a landscape, a tall image size. If you wanted to use it in other places, perhaps you want the different dimensions, and then you can actually fashion this code any way you like and create any dimensions that you like. You can root back to the detailed page and perhaps explore a different image. If you don't like that image, you can go back home and click on a different category, for example. Okay, so I'm going to show you exactly how to build a website like this in the next 2 or so hours for yourself, that you can use for any purposes. So watch towards the end, all the way to the end, to get all this information. And also remember, if there is parts of sections of this tutorial that you already are quite familiar with and you don't want to watch the whole tutorial, you don't have to. I have timestamps in the description below. Feel free to fast forward to any timestamp that is suitable or that makes sense to you, and watch only sections that are interesting to you. Okay, so let's get started with the tutorial. What you're going to need, first of all, is access to our documentation website. Our documentation website is on Skolo Online /document/ don't forget the and / at the end there if you want to access the website. There's a lot of resources over here, but specifically we're going to be covering some of the stuff on the cheat sheet and some of the stuff on the Django. All right, I actually use this myself a lot because you can't always keep these things on the top of your head. You have sometimes to get references, all right? And in this video tutorial specifically, I'm not going to cover how to create a Django application from scratch, because that's going to make our tutorial a little bit too long. I've already created a Django app. If you can see over there, let me try and find it. So this is basically a out-of-the-box Django app, and you should be able to create this out of the box Django app following the tutorial on our website. So if you go on our Skolo Online docs and you go to Django, at the very beginning, getting started, you can follow all of these steps to create a Django app from scratch if you don't already have a plain Django app or you don't know how to do it. Okay, so it takes you through the steps of installing a Postgres SQL database. Okay, we're not working with a development database because we are building this to be hosted online, and we might as well just do it with a proper production server level a database. Then we're going to go and install our Django, and we need this obviously for the database. And this is what your app looks like when you're done with it. And then you're gonna put in your database information. You're gonna make your migrations, and then we're gonna create an app. Okay, so on this tutorial it doesn't cover that, but that's very simple how to do that. You can also check the Django tutorial. What you need is basically an app called main. All right, so I haven't done that yet. I haven't gone through that app in great details, but we'll go through that a little bit later on. So you basically create a sub app in main, and if you don't want to do it the Django way, it's actually very simple. You can just create a folder and call it main, and then put in all those app files in there that are required. Okay, you need an init.py folder, you need the admin folder, you need an apps folder, you need a models.py folder, you need a tests, and you need a views.py. The majority of these folders are actually empty except for your apps.py, which needs to have this main config stuff. But to be on the safe side, just use your Django command for creating an app. If you're not sure what it is, you can just say Django create app what you call it, instruction, whatever, and a command, I'll Google it and then get it, because it's not covered in my tutorial here online how to do that, but it's actually just one line. It's very simple. So once you've done that, I want you to then test that your app has been installed successfully. Once you get to this point, then you should be able to follow along with the rest of the tutorial. Okay, now the next step is obviously Bootstrap. We're going to be working off Bootstrap, and I will make this code available at the end of the tutorial so that you can download it. This is why I'm using Bootstrap. All right, if you go to Bootstrap, their website is getbootstrap.com. I will link it in the description below, and you can go have a look at it later. If you go to this website, you have documentation and you have examples. All right. If you click on the examples, you will see there's sort of like lots of examples of websites that you can build that's already sort of like predetermined for you. Okay, we are going to be working with two different examples over here. The first one is this blog example, all right, and the second one is this the images example. I think it's going to be here somewhere. Let me just look for it there. The images, there it is, the album example. Okay, we're going to be working off the blogs example and the album example. What you can do is that you can download the entire folder, all right, and then you can work on it from there, or you can just sort of like open this. There are two ways you can do this. You can like sort of open this website like that, okay, and then you can just right click on it to view page source. And then this is the HTML for this website, okay? And then you can just copy and paste it where you want it. So you can just basically, copy this whole thing and paste it on an HTML file, and then you can work on it from there. The only thing you must then remember to do is to get your Bootstrap min CSS at the top there and at the bottom, all right? So which is why probably it's better to rather download the examples, because that's what I did the first time. All right, so I already have these Bootstrap examples already in my system, but if you download this, it will download the entire folder, including the CSS and JavaScript files, especially if you don't want to work with the CDN, because the CDN tends to sometimes slow down your website. They don't always tell you that. It's probably easier for efficiency to download the folder as it is. So when you download the whole Bootstrap folder, you will have something like this. Okay, so I've already downloaded it. I always keep it in my file, in my computer, and I use it all the time when I need to use it. And all the different examples will be inside of subfolders like that. Okay, so the example that we need is this album example and the blog example, which is this one. Okay, so just get these two folders out of here, because these are the ones you're going to need. You can copy and paste them somewhere else. And you also need the assets folder, because all of these folders sort of refer to the assets folder. So what I've done is that I created a whole new folder like that. Okay, and then in this new folder, I copied and pasted my HTML. So the first HTML is the blog HTML. The second one, the category HTML, is the one which is the category HTML is the assets folder. So inside of the assets folder there, it's just basic, not the assets, man. Inside of the images, instead of the album folder, you see there's only one index.html file. Okay, so that's the file that I renamed category. And then the blog.html file is the file which sits inside of the blog folder. So if you open in there and you take the blog.html file, that's that one over there. And then the assets folder is this assets folder. It's the one which has all your CSS, your Bootstrap main CSS, and your basically what you're gonna need for your whatever. So just get the files that you need and put them somewhere else so that you can refer to them later on. We will get back to using these files back in our file. We will need the assets. We will save this inside of our static folder for our Django application, and then these ones will form the templates, and then we'll just have to refer from inside the templates into the static folder. So basically that's why we need the assets and the HTML. So that's all really you need to get started with the Bootstrap. Okay, if I can show you what the websites we've selected look like. This is the blog page. All right, we're not going to use everything that's in here. Basically the only thing I need here is this section at the top and this sort of like a landing page. I'm going to create a landing page out of this, which will just have like, I don't know, whatever I want to say. And then I want categories for my images. All right, so I'll have this at the top as the categories for the images. And when you click on the category, for example, then it will take you to a more detailed page like that. So this will say the name of the category at the top. okay? And then maybe I won't have these buttons. I'll describe the categories a little bit, and then I'll display my images like that, okay? You might ask yourself, for what purpose am I building this image website? In my specific case, I want the ability to host my images online, specifically so I can work with them when I am doing my social media automation, okay? I've done a lot of videos on this channel where I show you how to automate your Facebook posting, Instagram posting, and actually want to work on a future video where I'll show you how to automate some like Pinterest, you're loading images onto Pinterest. And all of these platforms, even if you're working with Airtable, all of these platforms where you need to sort of share images with an API, the only way really you can share images with that API is if they are hosted on an online HTTPS server, and you can give that API an actual URL link to a publicly available location, all right, so that the API can then go and download that image. That is why I'm building an image hosting website, because I want to be able to then use these images in other places, like posting them directly to Facebook, posting them directly to Instagram, posting them directly to Pinterest, or any other place I want to post them, or just keep a record of all the images that I use a lot in my website. And as a developer, at one point or another, or an entrepreneur, you're gonna come across a use case like this where you just need to have your images in one place. All right, so we're gonna use this for the detailed image page, and then we're gonna use this for the front landing page. Okay, so we're not building this website for consumption for other people to view. It's for our own internal use. So I'm not concerned about making the website look great or make the website look amazing. I'm just concerned about the functionality of the website for what I need the website for. Okay, so if you get looking at all of this, right, let's put some thought process into how we're going to go about doing this. Now, as you can see, I said at the top there, I'm going to use this for my categorizing my images. So I'm going to have, for example, I don't know, Skolo as like a brand. I'll have all the images that I use there. I'll have maybe a brand for my invoicing website. I'll call that there. Maybe I'll have another brand for my careers portal. Whatever the different descriptions I'm gonna have, I'll put them at the top over there, and then I'll be able to click there and then go into a detailed page and see all the images that I have for that specific categories like this, okay? And then I'll be able to like click on this. That's the third page, which we don't have from this, but I think we can build that with just using this background over here. And if you click over there, it will then take you to just a page where you just see the image at the top. Or actually, it will just take you to a page where it'll take you to a page where you see the image at the top and maybe a little bit more detail on the, the description of the image and maybe some hashtags. If I'm going to use this for social media, I probably want to do that inside of my model as well. Okay, so we'll see how this one comes together. Now, to get started, like I said, you need a Django app, which we've already built. Okay, I've already gotten ahead of you on that one, and I'm going to show you how I went about. Okay, I'm not going to show you how I went about doing this because you're going to follow this tutorial here, and then you can just create a basic Django app. Okay, now inside of the Django app, we're going to need a new application that we're going to call main. All right, so inside of this application that we call main, I've added only into the models.py file. You can see over there, in my Git, there's some changes over there. So we're going to create two models for our application. And I've already created these models, as you can see, but I'm going to take you through the process of how I created these models and why I created them like that. Okay, we're going to have two models. The first model will be the model to, let me just close that. The first model will be the model to describe these different categories. So I'm going to create a category for, I don't know, for my, social media platform one, let's say careers portal. I'll create a category for that. I'll create a category for free invoicing, for example. I'll create a category for Skolo, for example. I'll create a category. So that category is a model in itself. It will have a category name and, it will have an instance of a model. Then after that, we will have the actual image itself. The image will also be a model. There'll be a model for images, all right? And within that model, I'll be able to upload the image that I want to upload. And then there will be a related field between that image and the category so that I know which category that image fits into. So every time I upload an image, I'll have to fit it into a category so that it knows which category it fits into. Okay, now there's a couple of things which I've done which are not in the documentation. All right, so if you go to your settings.py file, I'm going to try and open it there inside of my project. Inside of the settings.py file, there's a couple of things. If you look at my documentation website here, I do have some Django settings. I do have some guidelines around what to do with your settings.py file, okay? This is not important because I don't think I'll be doing message tags. So actually, you don't need to put this on. You can delete it. But you need to have directories for your templates. So that's important. That's a main change that you have to do. So inside of your settings.py file, just make sure that you create an OS path directory for your templates. All right. And then within this directory, you will then have a different folder called templates. And this is where we're going to put all of our HTML files in there. All right. So all of this is there in the documentation. And then if you need template tags, we're not going to need template tags. So you can ignore this section. All right. You don't need that. And you can ignore this as well. All right. And then you need to connect it to a database. Remember, when you get started, you need to build a database. So this is already inside of the Django Get Started part, which is there. You would have built your database following these instructions there. You would have a database name, a database user, and all of that. All right. So once you have that, you can then inside of your settings.py file, configure your database information so Django knows where the database is. Then you're going to set your time zone, set this based on your location. You're going to need to add paths to your static folder, your upload folders, and then you have to actually create these folders inside of your root of your directory. Okay, if you've got an email, we don't need email in this specific case, an email backend, you can ignore that. We're not going to be building a login route as well, you can ignore that. But we will be using a Django Resized, okay? Because we're doing images, it's going to be very important for us to structure our images the way we want, especially because the use case for this website that I'm doing is a social media image availability for my own social media posting in the future. So social media needs images in a certain size, all right, depending on when you are posting. If you are posting to Instagram, basically you want your images to be square. If you're posting to like Facebook or Twitter, then you can have landscape images and they have specific dimensions. You know, there is an ideal dimension for that. And then if you're posting to Pinterest, which I will be doing in the future as well, they also have specific recommended dimensions. Okay, so we will use Django Resize to resize our images, and then I'll show you how to do that. And basically that's all you need to add into your settings.py file when you get started the first time. And then there is some additional imports that you need before you run your app. Okay, so if you go to here where it says Django imports, I'm going to take you through this Django imports list. All right, you definitely obviously need to install Django and Psychog, which you would have done in your process of installing your application. All right, requests, let's install it just to be on the safe side, because you always almost use requests in like 90% of your Django applications. Pillow is a requirement if you're going to be using an image field. All right, so make sure that you install a pillow. Then we make sure you install Django Resized, because we're going to be using Django Resized for resizing our images for our website, especially if you're going to want your album to look like this. You can see all these images are like the same size. If you want your sort of your library to look sort of like neat. Otherwise, if the images were different dimensions, this might be longer than that, and then this is not going to align properly and you're going to have some issues. So we're going to definitely be using Django Resized over there to make sure that our images are the right dimension. Our crispy forms we don't need, because we're not going to be building any forms. We're going to be uploading all our images from the admin panel. And then we don't need any of these ones either at the bottom. Okay, we definitely will not be using channels. So basically just make sure you install all of this before you get started. All right, and then once you've done that, I think that's pretty much it. Okay, so and I'll make this code code available at the end of this tutorial. You can have a look at it. If you're having issues, you can compare what you've got with my code when you're going through the installation process. But I definitely recommend, highly recommend, that you do not copy and paste my code, that you instead go through the tutorial yourself, because that's how you're going to learn. And then only when you have issues or you come across problems that you can't solve, then you can go through the document. You can go through my code and double check what you're doing or what I'm doing. And that's the only way you can learn, okay? So run your app and make sure that you have this, okay? You can pause this video there, because to continue from this point, you need to make sure you're having a running app. If your app is not running, fix whatever it is you need to fix. Pause this video here, come back later, and make sure that you can run your app and you can see this inside of your app. After installing this new app called main with nothing on it, just install an app called main, all right? And create a folder called templates, and inside of the folder called templates, create another folder called main. These folders can be empty for now, but just go through the process of creating them, because this is what you need to do at this point before you'll be able to follow along, okay? So I'm gonna give you a moment, all right? You can pause this here and then come back and continue from this point once you have your Django app running like this. Okay, now you got your Django app running. Let us go to the next step. The next step that we need to do here is now to work on our models. Okay, before you can do any Django app, you need to have models running. That your models are your data structures. Your models are your object-oriented sort of like, a base of your app, of any app that sort of, you help structure your data within that format where you can create instances of that data. Okay, so in our specific case, we're going to be working with two different models, like I've already specified. So I'm going to open my models.py file. At the top over there, these are the imports that you need. Okay, I think I'm forgetting the resized import, this resized image field. This is the documentation for the Django Resized image field. Okay, you can import, you can install it like that, and then you can do pip install. And these are the settings I was telling you about inside of your Django, inside of your settings.py file, and inside of the model, you'll use it like that. But what I was looking for is this import at the top there, because I'm going to need this import inside of my application there. All right, so you need to from Django DB import models. All right, you need to import Slugify, because we're going to be creating slugs for our routing, to help us with our routing specifically. If you do a lot of my tutorials, you'll see I almost always use slugs inside of my models. For me, I prefer that to the default PK method of accessing a detailed field. Obviously, then the resized field that we just imported now, we're going to need time zone, because our app is time zone aware. All right, and then we're going to need this UID4, which reminds me I need to install this. I have not installed UID4, so let me see, pip install UUID like that, and then it's going to install it. Great. So from UID you can import UID4. And then we're going to import our settings, basically from, this is importing your settings.py file. And I don't think we're actually using the settings in this file at all. So actually, I'm going to delete this. We don't need this. And then reverse, we also don't need JSON. And we will not need OS either. Okay, so let's delete that as well. So you will need reverse, we're using it there. Okay, UID and so forth. Okay, so these are the imports you're gonna need inside of your file. And then basically, like I said, two models. The first one is gonna be called category. This is the model that's going to sort of talk to these different categories at the top here, okay, that we're gonna be having for our images. Okay, so all I need is the title. Okay, and then I've got my utility variables. If you follow my tutorials, I always have utility variables. This is just good practice on my side, because you almost always need it. The unique ID helps you identify the instance of the category, because then you don't have to depend on the title and having unique fields for the title. All right, because the unique ID will always be unique. The slug helps me with navigation, and then I always want to know every time I created something and every time I updated something. and then the date created, and all of these models are going to be automatically generated because I've created the functions over here to do it. The first time I create this model, it will check if this date created is none, because it will be none the first time I create the model, and then it will give a timestamp to it and give it a date created. Okay, if the first time I create the model, the unique ID is none as well, it will give it a unique ID, and then it will create a slug based on that title of the category and the unique ID. And then on a regular basis, every time I save this model, it will double check the slug. This is in case I decide to change or edit the title of my model. Okay, so it will always recalculate the slug or redetermine what the slug is, and then it will then every time update the last updated, because I want to be able to know every time when was the last time I updated something. This is for just record keeping. It's good practice. I know Django has got this built in, but I want to have it as well on my front end so that I know I can have, I just do this all the time with all of my models, and I found it very useful from my personal experience. But other than that, the only field I really need for category is the title. And then for images, the only field I need for images is the description. This is what will go inside of the image detail over there. So once I have, this will be a category. Inside of category, I'll have an image. This will be the description of that image. All right. And then I'll have an alt text for the image, which I will define inside of the model, so that later when I'm using this model somewhere else in social media, I can always remember what it was the alt text I defined for that specific image. And hashtags. Okay, I'm gonna just also save images with its own hashtags. I know for now it doesn't mean anything, but remember the use case that I'm building this for is that I want to use these images to post to social media. So every time I upload an image into my image database, I will keep track of the hashtags associated with that image. I will keep track of the alt text associated with that image inside of the model itself and the description of that image, so that if I use it for social media, when I do automation in the future, I can just say, get that alt text of the image, get that whatever, and use that to post. Okay, and then I'm gonna have, for each and every single image, I'm actually going to have different dimensions of the image. Okay, now this is very, very important. Remember when I said to you, for the use case of what we're doing this for, social media, depending on where you're posting, there are different requirements for the size of the images. Okay, for better, I mean, the social media website will take your image no matter what, but the challenge is that your image won't look right. If you upload like a landscape image into Instagram, it will cut off the sides, and you don't want that. So I actually rather on my side resize the image myself the way I want it. Then when I upload, I will upload the square image in its own place, the landscape image in its own place, and the tall image in its own place. I'll use the tall image mostly for Pinterest. The landscape images will be mostly for Facebook, Twitter, and the square image obviously is for Instagram. Okay, and then I will use the resize field. So whatever image I upload, this resize image field will resize the image on the fly. Okay, so this is what I love about Django and Django Resized. If I was doing this on Flask, for example, or some other platforms, I would have to manually write code to resize my images. And if you've built applications where you're using images, it is tedious. It's a tedious process. You have to install all sorts of things and go through the process of, is this, checking the image before you resize it, and the quality, and It's like, in some cases, at least 10 to 20 lines of code that you have to write to resize an image, like for example in Flask. Okay, now this Django Resized image field will do that for you on the fly as you are uploading the image in there. All you need to do is to give it the dimensions that you want it to resize it to. Okay, so I want these images in this case to be square. So the square field, I want it to be square, and I want it to be 1000 by 1000 pixels, so you can define the size of the image. And for the landscape image, I want it to be 28781618. These are the ideal dimensions for social media landscape images. Okay, it's just the right pixels, and it's definitely the right ratio of length to width for the landscape. And then for the tall, I actually just reverse the landscape ratio width. I don't know if this is the right dimensions. I haven't researched a lot on Pinterest because I don't do a lot of, but when I find out if this is not correct, I can just come and change it here. But I've just reversed the dimensions of that to make it landscape. And then obviously I wanted to crop it middle center if it has to crop it, because if I, for example, uploaded an image that was like 3000 pixels and it had to crop it, I wanted to crop it mostly in the middle. Okay, and then I'll define some sort of defaults here. And when you define a default, just make sure that inside of your folder location where you're uploading to, you actually create a file in there called a default, so that it can find that file. And then after that, upload to, so this will upload to a specific folder called square. This will upload to a specific folder called landscape, and a specific folder called, so this one should be tall. Okay. And this is just so that I can organize stuff internally. I'll know where all my square images are and things like that. All right. And then after that, I'll then create a foreign key for the image with category. So this means that every time I define an image, I'll have to define the category that the image fits into, okay? So that, you will have, for example, one image or will always have one category, okay? But within a category, there's gonna be a lot of images that fall into that category, okay? So the other way you could have done this was to use a many to many, but I prefer this approach because when you're then doing the queries on the front end, you can just query all images that fit into a certain category, okay? And then you'll get all your category images for this category page. All right. So once you've done that, obviously these are all my utility variables. This work is exactly the same as what I've explained on the other side. Okay. And then when you've done this, what we need to do now is to then push these changes and then run migrations again. Okay. So we need to do this first to make sure that everything is okay. So I'm going to do that quickly. I'm going to save my changes first of all, add them to Git. I always work with Git. Okay, before I do that, I need to, inside of the admin .py file, I need to actually define the models in here. So the first thing that you want to do is to say from dot models. So it's going to import from the models file. Okay. Import all the models. Okay. Otherwise you can import them one by one, because in this specific case I actually only have 2 models. So I could type them if I wanted, or I could just import everything. And then you need to do admin site register. Let me just double check my model names. It's category. All right. And then you register that. Right, and then the next one is let's see, image. This so that the models are available from your admin panel as well. Okay, so you register them with that, and then you save that. Okay, so let me add those changes again. So after we've done that, I'm going to push these changes to my virtual server where I'm running my code from. And obviously I need to enter my virtual server key password. Then once I've done that, I'm going to run migration again. Okay, so Python make migrations so they run without an issue, so I don't have a problem with my code there. And then we're gonna migrate. Awesome. So now that you've run your migrations and everything is working fine, remember to create a super user, right? So this is the code to create a super user. If you haven't done that yet, you basically on my documentation, I think I've got it here where you're getting started. Towards the bottom there, you can just do this this command, python manage.py, create super user. Okay, so I've already done that. I've got a super user. I'm going to just try and log into my, so I need basically the same the same website there, and I just go to my admin panel. All right, and then when you go to the okay, I need to run my app first. Okay, so all right, so let's go to the admin panel, and I'm going to then log in. Awesome. And then once you've logged into the admin panel, you will see here's your two main your blog models. So inside of the category, if you go to the category over there, you'll see there's nothing there. If you wanted to add a new category, you could add a new category there. Basically, all I need to do is to give it a title here. And then you can go back and have a look at the images there. And then there's nothing under the images. You can add a description and alt text for the image. You can add all your hashtags, and then you can put your square image, landscape image, tall image. You can connect it to a category. All right, if you didn't have one, you could add a category over there, and then you'd be good to go. All right, so the next part of the tutorial, what we're going to do is that in the background, I'm just going to create some category and upload some images for you quickly so that I don't waste time inside of the video tutorial doing that. And then we're going to then start to wire up these two templates and build the front end to display our images and our category for our website. So I have in the background uploaded a couple of images. I've created 3 categories, and I've tried to upload about 6 images per category so that I can display them in this format. So if I have my categories, I can have at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 images displayed. I think once I've shown you that, you can build on that and do much more. I got my images from Pixabay. If you recall, Pixabay is a free image website where you can go and like download as many images as you need. You don't even have to create an account to download images. It's one of the websites I covered in my most amazing resources for web developers video, which I will link in the description below. Didn't get a lot of viewing, but I'm surprised because it's one of the most useful videos. I mean, the tips in there will save you a lot of time and energy. So one of this website here, I got 3 different categories that I want to work with inside of my web application. I looked for images with regards to office work, so I downloaded those. Then I looked for images with regards to computers and technology. So if you go back to my Django, I have 3 different categories: office, gardening, and technology. And the reason why it's displaying like this is the way I defined my model. If you look at my models over here, you'll see that under category, under that string definition function, I want to the way I want to look at my categories is I just want to see the title and the unique ID of the category. But when it comes to the image itself, I want to see returning the category title and the unique ID of the image. So for the image, so if I upload an image, it will show the category of that image and the unique ID of that image. That's how I defined the model inside of the image over there, so that I can sort of differentiate in my admin function where that image belongs. Okay. So basically there's a category, there's the images. If you go to categories as well, you will see I only have 3 categories: technology, gardening, and office. And I'll show you how to create a new category. You can just go over here and create a new category and call it anything that you want. I mean, I can call this a sporting, right? And then I don't have to save the unique ID, the slug, or I don't have to put any of these, because remember, these are my what you call utility variables over there, and I've overridden the save function to define those utility variables. So the date created is created automatically, the unique ID, the slug, I don't actually have to create any of that. I just put in the title is going to be sporting, and then I save. And as soon as I save that, it's already over there. If I click on it to see it again, you'll see there it is. The unique ID was created automatically, the slug, and the date created, and the last updated matches the date created. So on the images side as well, it's basically the same thing. I've already uploaded a lot of images, but I just want to show you one image that I'm uploading now for you to see. Okay, you can put in a description over there, put in whatever you want, and I'm gonna upload this under technology. So I want the alt text to just say technology illustration, I don't know, something like that. And then I'm gonna just put like a hashtag in the technology. You can put as many hashtags as you want, really. This is for the social media stuff, okay? And once I'm done with that, then you remember you've got that square image, landscape image, tall image, all right? So ideally, if you were really doing this for social media, you would go and create 3 different image types that are these different dimensions, okay? Depending on how you've defined them over here under resized image field, especially if you're building like a nice looking sort of social media template. But instead, in my specific case, I'm actually just gonna use one image. So I'm gonna download an image of Pixabay. Okay, and I'm gonna choose a file over there. These are the images I downloaded, and I'm just gonna like click on that image, and I'm gonna use the same image on all the different fields over there. So I'm going to use the exact same image, but the way I've defined it inside of my image field, it will resize that image based on the dimensions that I've given it. Okay, you can see I want it to be these dimensions. So when before it saves that image, it will resize it into those dimensions as I've defined it, and then I can pick the category that I want for this technology. And then again, I don't have to the utility variables, I don't have to save anything in there. I can just save. All right, and then basically that's it. Okay, so it's gonna take a while because of the resizing, but now I've got my content in the admin panel. I've got my categories, I've got my images. I should be ready to start working with these templates to create what it is that I want to create. So I just need to find where I've got this template saved. This is basically it. It's the blog.html and category.html file. All right, so we're gonna start with this I think it's a category.html file. We're going to start with this one. All right, so I'm going to open this. No, actually it's the blog one, sorry. We're going to start with this one. I'm going to open this in Atom. Okay, and so this is the file. Let me just double check about, add some information, album example. This is a it looks like this is the actual what is called blog.html is actually the images. You can see these are all the images over there. And let me see this one, what this one is. Open with. Yeah, it looks like this is the blog one. Okay, so I've renamed it differently. It doesn't matter nonetheless. So basically, this is my Django files. Inside of your templates folder, right? Create a new folder called a main. And inside that main folder, create a file called index.html. Okay, and then that file is going to be empty. This is that file that this is what it looks like. So this is this index.html file that we just we're working on now. Let me see it. The one that says category. Okay, this one over here. So I just want to copy all of what is in here, copy all of this content, and paste it inside of this newly created file that I'm calling index.html. All right, so this file content is what we have over here. I don't need any of this, especially everything from the bottom here going down to the end there. I need to just delete it. Okay, so go and look for it. So you'll see at the top there, these are your let me just search for this. Title over longer featured. All right, let me just find where that is. All right, and continue reading. All right, and then after that, you've got this div with other things, featured posts. So basically, all of this I wanted gone. All of that. Okay, main. Let's see at the bottom there if I want to show my. Nope, I don't need any of that. So all of this I don't need. All right, so basically I'll have my main over there. I'll have the footer. I will have I'll leave the footer like that. All right, and then these are the world, technology, US, politics, travel. This is the categories at the top over here, world, US, all of that categories, travels. And then you've got a couple of things over there. All right, so this I'm going to rename, and I'm going to call this a Skolo. Okay, and then this is now the canonical link to this website. Right, I'm going to leave this blank for now because this is not really the link. I'm going to change the author over there and put in my name. I'm going to call this image website, and then there's a couple of things we need over there, and you can see over here, let me just look for that, right, to find all my links. Okay, so these are all the access to the CSS, and I need to make sure that this is correctly displayed. Okay, the Google APIs, I can leave that because it's accessing it via HTTPS. So these are the fonts it's using in here, so I'm not going to change that. But the style sheet there, in this sort of blog style over here, I need to be able to access these CSS files, all right? And remember, the CSS files are the ones which are going to be inside of this assets folder, all right? So what I'm going to do is that this is the project directory, all right, for the file that I'm working on. This is the images, the main, the manage.py, the templates, all right? So what you need over here is a folder that is going to be called static. All right, you need a folder called static, and inside of that static folder, I'm going to put that assets. I'm just actually going to drag it across. Okay, so I'm going to drag the whole assets folder in there. All right, and I'm going to leave that like that open. Actually, instead of dragging it so that I don't like break this stuff that's already running, actually it doesn't matter. I'm going to drag that in there. All right, so inside of the start of the assets, you'll see, for example, you'll have a dist, and then let's see, brand. Okay, so I'm going to delete this, move to bin, and then I'm going to take this whole folder off there and off of there, and then I'm going to delete that. Let's see what else is in the dist. Then I'm going to move to bin. All right, and then I'll put it back inside the assets folder. All right, so that I can refer to assets.css, and then I can refer to assets.javascript. Okay, so and then be able to access all of these files like that. All right, so what we need to do then inside of our HTML, our index.html, at the very top over there, we need to load static. That's the first thing that you need to do. You need to say load static so that you can load the static folder for you. And then this file, for example, all of this, it was inside of the assets folder, right? And now I think I've moved it off the assets folder. Let me just double check. It's now, yeah, it's still in the assets folder, all right? So that's fine. So basically what I need to do over there is to just copy this like that. And then we do it the Django way and say access the static folder which we are loading at the top over there. And inside of the static folder, look for a folder called assets and then dist, and then you'll find whatever is in there, right? And over here, I'm going to actually just copy that so that I can get a reference to that as well. All right. Okay, so this dist is no longer there. So it's going to be assets.css, all right? So it's assets.css.bootstrap. So let me then remove that over there, and then copy that blog.css at the end over there, like that. So this is then how you will access the second one, all right? So it will be static assets.css blog.css, and let's just make sure that that is where the file would be. So inside of static, you will go into assets, and then you will go into CSS, and then inside of CSS you'll have blog.css, all right, which is this one, and then over there you'll have bootstrap min.css, which is that one. Okay, we're not using the RTLs, and we're not using the map as well, so actually you can delete these ones that you don't need. So this RTL and RTL min, we don't need these. I'm gonna move this to the bin, and then that's the only one we need as well. Okay, and then inside of the JavaScript is this bootstrap bundle min.javascript, which should be available inside of this folder anyway at the bottom. Where is our JavaScript? Okay, so this template is not using any JavaScript, so we don't need it, all right? So we're gonna leave it. There was nothing that refers to JavaScript there. So that's all we need to do at the top over there to refer to our static directories and make sure that that the templates can find the static folder, all right? And then what we're gonna do, let's see, subscribe at the top. I don't want that. I don't know. Do I really want this? Just leave it blank. And then large. We're gonna put in here, we're gonna call this Skolo online images website, or just Skolo online images. Okay, And then over here we have sign up. We're not going to have a sign up page actually, so I'm actually just going to remove this completely. We won't allow anybody to sign in. And then we'll have our categories. If you remember what our categories are these ones over here. Okay, we don't need all of them. I think the last time I checked, I only have like 4 different categories, so I will delete all these other ones and then I'll double check what my categories are. Let's see, let's start with technology. All right, so let's call this technology. Let's call this office, and then the other one is gardening. And then we added sporting at the end over there. Okay, and then after that, a title. Let's see what's over here. Blog post. Actually, I'm just gonna leave this content like it is. I'm not gonna change any of that. All right, so this is now your index.html file. All right, so what I want to do is just to double check that I've at least routed the CSS and everything properly, that this template actually displays properly inside of my Django application, and that it can find the static files and everything. So I have got the HTML file. What I need now is the URLs to point to this HTML, and then a view function to display the link. So the first step is let's work on our URLs files. All right, so inside of your project directory over there, project directory is going to have the same name as the root directory. So inside of the project directory, inside of the URLs file, this is the plain URL files that come. I've made some additions here. I've added some more sort of imports at the top. Okay, so I've imported import views from that one. Actually, we don't need that. Sorry, copied and pasted this from the wrong place. So you need to import include, all right, which we're going to use at the bottom over there. We need to import settings, which we are going to use here. So you need this line that says if settings.debug URL patterns is that. This is just to help the Django application find your images or anything that you upload inside of your upload directory. So whatever directory you refer to as your media URL, during the development state, you need to actually tell Django where that folder is, or else it doesn't find the files or documents or images that you upload using the application itself. So you just basically add this line of code in here, and this will be available in the code that I will make that I'll put on GitHub at the end of this tutorial. So once you've done that, we're going to include URLs, which means we're not going to build all of the URLs inside of this project directory. We're going to build the URLs inside of this specific application directory. So we only have one application, which is main, which is that application over there called main. So we only need to include the main.urls. So these are like the main views. All right, main app views. All right, so what this is doing is that it is just including the main URLs, and inside of the main package, you will then need to have a file called urls.py. So if you go to the main package over here, now I've added a new file and I've called it urls.py. Inside of the urls.py file, make sure you import all your views, because we're going to use the views to access the HTML template and the logic that must take place when somebody calls that root. And then you're going to need to give it a name. Okay, so basically you need to import path at the top over there, and then you need to import all the views from your views file. And then you can just say from .import views. It means it will import views from the very same package that it's in right now, or the directory that it's in right now. So if you go to your views file, there's nothing over here. Now you need to create a view for this. All right, so to create a view for this, you're basically going to say def. We need to call this view home, because we've already sort of referred to it as home over there. All right, you could have called it anything else, but whatever you call it here, we're going to have to call it the same thing inside of the view function. So I've decided to call it home. All right, I need to put in the request in there. And then once you do that, you need to then do something once this is called. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that I'm going to instead render that HTML file. Okay, so you can just use a render, which is at the top over there, which is imported at the top over there. So you can say render, and there's a couple of things that you need inside of the render. you need to render the request. All right, you need to render the HTML file itself, and then you need to render the context that goes into the HTML file. So for now, the context is pretty much empty, and the HTML file, remember, is inside of the templates directly. So Django is going to look inside of the template directory. So inside of the template directory, we've got a folder there that's called main. So we need to refer to that folder. And then after the folder called main, the file itself is called index.html, like that. Okay, so when you call this function, it's going to render the index.html file inside of the main directory. Okay, so we can then save this and run this. Remember, if you look at home over there, inside of the URLs, you will see that. Actually, let's close these URLs, because then there's two. You'll see that this path is for the, there's nothing in that path, which also there was nothing in the project directory URLs over there. So this is also blank, and that's blank, which means now if somebody goes to the blank path where there's nothing, which means the whole actual homepage of your root of your app or your project, they should find that index.html. Okay, so let's save all of this. That was quite a bit. Let's save all of this. Let us stop running that for now. We'll just clear that, and then let's clear this. Let's push the changes and see what happens. Coolio. And then over here we can just sort of run this, and there's no errors. Okay, and then we're gonna go back to let's look for this. I'm just gonna copy this and run it somewhere else. I'm gonna keep that open so I can put this link for you guys in the description. So let me run that and see what happens. Okay. Okay, so I need to actually say return. Yeah, such a rookie mistake. So let us do this again. All right, and then we are good to go. Let's start to check it out again. Awesome. Okay, awesome. So this is our homepage. You'll see there's technology there, there's office. Okay, this office, perhaps I need to have it as let's say, where's my index? This office perhaps needs to be an office with a big O. Okay, right, like that. Okay, so you've got technology, you've got office, you've got gardening, you've got sporting, and then obviously we'll change this later on. And then you got Skolo online images. This Skolo online image is what I want. If somebody clicks on that Skolo online images there, it has an href. I would like for this to take people to the home page, which is actually where we would be right now, because then you can just leave it like that. All right, and then this, now these links, we want these links to link to the detailed page. So I want somebody, when somebody clicks on this technology over there, I want this to route them to the detailed page, which we're gonna use this template. Okay, so I can close. Okay, let's not close it yet. We're gonna use this template over here, and that detailed file, the detailed page will show sort of that. And we'll get rid of these buttons, and then it will show all the images that are available inside of the detail. Okay, so we need to create a route for the detailed page that fetches all the detailed images for that page, and it displays them, and people can see those images like this. Okay, so inside of our views.py file, let us do that. Let us create a function called detailed. And by the way, I'm going to be working with function-based views, all right? A lot of Django developers prefer working with class-based views. I come from a from a Flask background, so I don't know, it's just embedded in me to do function-based views. It just makes sense to me. It's really just a sort of a preference, okay? And for me, that's what works, okay? So I'm going to just continue working with that, and I'm sure there's a different way of, you can do this exactly thing what I'm doing in class-based views, but I'll be working with the function ones, all right? So I want to call this detailed, actually I'm going to call this category page. All right, and then we're gonna also send in the request. All right, and then over here we're gonna need to render something. Okay, so I'm gonna just copy and paste that over there, and we don't know what we're rendering yet, so let's leave that blank. And then once we know the HTML that we're going to be rendering, we will add it in there. All right, then we definitely need the models, because we need two different models here. We need to be able to let's just say from dot import from dot models, import everything. Okay, so this is just going to be importing everything from inside of the models so that we can work with them over here. Okay, let me just close this admin settings so I can have a little bit of space. All right, and then so this HTML, I'm gonna close that one. I've already used it over there. The inside of the views, there's two things I need to do over here to be able to display this. I need to fetch I need to know the category that was clicked, okay, because I need to be able to then go and fetch that detailed information so that I can figure out the images that belong to that category. So for me to know the category that was clicked, over here inside of the home view needs to tell me what category was clicked. So instead of the home view, I need to actually have the the sort of the categories listed properly. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to now fetch the categories over here, all right, inside of the home view. Okay, so let's look at our models and check category over there. All right, so I'm going to say this is categories objects, okay, like that. So I want to fetch all the categories over here. All right, and then once I've done that, I'm going to then create an object to send this categories to the context, and then I'm going to say context categories like that. So context categories, and make sure that's just the same and I don't get any spelling wrong. Categories is equals to categories, and then over here we're going to be sending the context to the front page. All right, so instead of now when you go back to our index file over here where we are showing this, instead of sort of like hard coding the categories in here, because I want to be able to from the back end just add another category anytime that I want, I'm going to not hard code the categories, but instead I'm going to dynamically create this list. Okay, so I'm going to say for category, okay, in categories. All right, and then I'm going to say and for in here. All right, and then this is going to be the category title, if you remember our category model. Okay, so it's going to be category.title, and then I can then finally build the link for this. All right, so the detailed page will need to know which category was clicked. And if you look at our models, one of the descriptors we can use is this unique ID or the slug, because the slug will always be unique because the slug is based on the unique ID. If you look at the slug over there, when we create the slug, we use the title and we use the unique ID. So the slug will always be unique. So every time you use a variable, basically you can use any variable inside of your model to route to the detailed page that you want, especially when you're working with function-based views. But you want to use a field that is always going to be unique, because you don't want to have clashes inside of your application. That's why we created the unique ID, and then we're working with the title to create the slug, because we also want it to be a descriptor URL to sort of like tell people where they are going. Like in the blogs, they want to be able to see, what category they've clicked. They want to have a visual representation instead of having numbers and PKs and all of that, right? So what I'm going to do is that inside of my URLs, inside of my URLs over here, I'm going to create a new URL, all right? So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to paste that. And this URL is the URL that's going to link me to the category page over here. So if I go to the URLs, I'm going to paste it in there, all right? And then I'm going to call it image category. All right, and then I'm going to give it a root. I'm going to say it is category. And then inside of this category, we're going to have like a what we call like a dynamic variable that we're going to need to feed it to tell us which category to bring back, because depending on what was actually clicked. All right, so we're going to be using a slug in this specific case. All right, so just say slug is equal to slug. We're going to call it a slug, and it is the slug field of the category. So then we need to then feed the slug in the URL when we're calling this URL. So I'm going to call this I'm going to copy that name of the URL there to go back into the index.html. all right, so this URL that we need to call over there is called image category. All right, and then we need to feed it the slug, because the URL needs a variable slug. All right, and this slug is going to be the category.slug, like that. All right, so when somebody then clicks on this href, which is the href for this name called image category, it will route them to this category page. All right, so we don't need that in there. Okay, I can see something is not quite right there. All right, it will route them to this category page. All right, and then this category page inside of the views, it is the same category page over here. Let me just paste that in there to make sure. And then now it takes in the request. It also takes in the slug, because the slug comes in from the URL itself. Okay, so now we now have the slug in here, and we can then fetch the category that we are talking about. Okay, so we can say category is equals to category dot objects dot get, and then we wanted to get the one which has the slug, which is equals to the slug that we've received at the top over there. And with typical function, you want to actually put this inside of a try block. All right, because if it throws an error, then you need to know that it's throwing an error. So over there, I would say except whatever, the except, what must happen if there's an exception. But I'm actually going to not do this now, because I don't expect this to throw an error, but sometimes it does. And if you were doing this in production, you would have to write it like that. You'd have to catch that exception. Now, once you've done that, you now have the category like that. And then you can work with the category. You can then go and fetch from the category the images that fit into that category. So if you go back to the images, you'll see over there that if you get the image class, you can fetch the images that fit into that category over there. So you're going to say images. All right, images is that image.objects.filter. Okay, in this specific case, we need to filter. And we need to filter based on the category. Okay, the category is equal to that category. So over here, it will bring all the images that belong to that category. And then we can do the exact same thing over here and put them into the context. All right, and we can do context images is equals to images, like that. And then over here, we can send the context to the front page. Okay, context images is equals to images, and then we make sure that we have the context over here. Okay, so we're still lacking the HTML file there that we don't have yet. So I think the HTML file that we were going to use is this. Let's see, this one over here, the one that's called blog. Okay, so I'm going to just copy this whole HTML over there. And then inside of the main, there I'll create a new one, and I'll call it category.html, like that. And then I'll paste this in here. What happened there? I want to copy that and paste that in here. All right, so if you look at the top there, you will see that obviously, let's see, there's the album there, and there is that. So here where it says album, so over there, first of all, the title, let's change the title. Let's just say this is Skolo Online Images. All right, and then let's link the CSS properly. Because I've already done this inside of my index.html, I'm just going to copy what's in here, because it should be pretty much the same. So inside there where it says Bootstrap, it should refer to the same location. Okay, and then there isn't any other. If you look at the links, it's only that 2 links. There's no other links. And if you go to the bottom, there's no JavaScript. Oh, there is JavaScript in this one. Okay, so this JavaScript, let me paste this in here so I can get the directions properly. So remember, we got rid of the dist folder, so everything is in assets. Okay, and assets CSS, assets JavaScripts. So let's remove that and do that static and then paste in there. All right, so this will be able to find the JavaScript inside of this folder. And then the other thing we need to do is yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, we'll change the titles and everything, but at the top there you need to load static. All right, and then remember to change these. I'm not going to do it here now. I've already done it on the other template. You saw how I did it. And the canonical URL as well. Remember to change that so that it's correct when you load this website finally. Okay, so let's see. So at the top there, it says about, add some information. I think if you open this up, there is some stuff in here. Okay, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, email me, about, add some information about yourself. Okay, I'm going to leave that without changing it. The only thing that I'm going to change here where it says album, maybe I'll just say home. And then is there a link where it links somewhere to? Yes. And then we're just going to link to the home page. Okay, so we're going to say URL for home. If you remember our URLs, the URL that's called home will take the user to that home page over there. So when they click on this button, it will take them home. And then I'll leave the SVG there like that. And let's see at the bottom here. So it says album example. Okay, so instead of album example here, what I wanted to say is I wanted to have the category, actually maybe the alt name of the image. All right, because this is now, no, actually this is going to be the category page. So there's going to be a category page, a category name over there. So maybe instead of showing album, I can show that. If you look at our view file, inside of the detailed page, we have the category. Okay, so let's send the category to the front end as well. Okay, so let's say context category is equals to category. All right, so then when we get over to the category page, then we can say category dot title, right? So if we look at our models, let's see, the category has a title. Yes, so we can actually say category dot title, and then we can say images, and then have images category dot title. Over there, I will actually remove all of this. I don't need all of that. So this paragraph with the buttons, let's get rid of it, and this other paragraph as well, let's get rid of it. So there's just the H1 that says category title, and then over there you have thumbnail, and then you've got all the images like that. Okay, so let's see. So you've got a row, you've got a column, and then inside of that column you've got that. Okay, then you've got a column, then you've got a column, then you've got a column, you've got a column, you've got a column, you've got all these columns for all these different images. Okay, so I want to see where the last column ends. All right, I'm going to delete all of these columns. Okay, when I delete all of these columns, all right, when I delete all of the columns, and let's see, this one column there. So there's a column and a column. We're going to delete this one as well. Okay, we're going to delete this column as well. I want to be left with just one column. All right, so we're going to delete that column, and so we only left with this one column over here. So this one column represents everything that's in here, and basically what we want to do is to display an image. All right, image thumbnail and the description over there, and there'll be like the 2 buttons and perhaps the time that it was created. Okay, so because on the view function we are already sending through the images to the front, this images returns, remember this images is filtering, it's filtering everything inside of that image class from the database. everything that is saved in the database under that image class model, it's filtering all of that where the category is equals to this category that was selected. So whatever category you selected that you called there, all the images that fit into that, it's filtering them. So it brings back a list. It brings back a list like this. So when I'm sending it to the front end like that, I'm sending it to the front end as a list. Okay. So this list, this list of images, sorry, it's sending forth a list of images. We can iterate through this list to display all the different images. So if you go back to this category over here, inside of the column, what I can do is that I can create an iteration through the images. I can say for image in images like that, and then this will be an end for. And then over here, I can display all the information I want to display about the image. Okay. So the first thing is this is an SVG, all right. So this SVG, let's see. All right, so this SVG we're going to remove completely, and we're going to put an image in here. All right, and then that image will have an src and an alt. Okay, so let's look at the source of the image. Okay, so the source of the image will now be image dot. If you look at the models, it will be image dot. I want to actually show the landscape image because I think that is the appropriate one with this appropriate dimensions. Okay, so I want to display that landscape image, and then you can display the image URL. Okay, and then over there you can actually remember we've got the image alt already, the alt text for the image. All right, so we can display the same thing in there. We can say image dot alt text, and then here can be the a description. All right, but this description can be long. Like look at it over here. If you look at the, this is, I mean, I technically want a description this, like I want to cut my description. If, for example, I had put in words, I had put in like 1,000 words, I don't want all those 1,000 words to be displayed like this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to my Python shell. I'm going to close this. I'm going to clear this, and I'm just going to open a Python shell quickly. All right, and then I want to just find out the length of this string that I just copied over there. I want to see how long this 128, about 130. Okay, so let's exit out of this. So what I want to do is that inside of my view function, I want to actually sort of reduce this image description length to about 130 characters, because I don't want it to be too long, and to display a whole 1,000 characters is going to look weird. So before I send it to the front end over here, I'm going to say for X in images, all right, X.description. I'm going to create a new field called short description is equals to, I think this was a description of the image. All right, so I'm going to say it's equals to the X.description, and I only want the first 130 characters. Okay, so for X in images, you do that, and then over here, instead of displaying the description inside of the HTML page, I will display image.short description, and then maybe I will do something like that, so it looks like it's going somewhere, and then maybe I will then have maybe a read more. Okay, read more, and then I can link this read more to a detailed page for that, so I can put an href in here, and we will link that href later when we've got the detailed page for the actual image set up later on. Okay, which will be the same thing over here. It will be view. We won't have an edit functionality, we'll just have a view. So let me look at my buttons there. So I'm only going to have a button for view. So for this view, we're just going to say the URL. So the view, let's put an AE around it, an anchor link, so that we can have the href equals to something, which we will fill in later. And then this one over here, we're just going to put in the date. Okay, so we're just going to say it's image.date created. All right, and then we're just going to say we're going to use a template filter date. Just put template filter date. So because the date created is actually going to be a daytime, and it's going to be this long daytime. and I just want to show the date. I think that's sufficient. So you can see when these images were created. And now that we've got that, actually reminds me, what we want to do over here is that when we fetch the images there, we probably want to order them as well. Order by the date created, okay? Because we don't want like the oldest images showing up first. I mean, we want to sort of order in a way that, like from the time they were created. And so we can see the latest images at the top. So if I download a new image today, I want to see the newest things at the top and the oldest things at the end, right? So you just achieve that by ordering your query like that from the database, okay? So then we are done with this HTML. What we can do is that we can do this main. We can say that main dot, what did we call it? We called it category.html. Main dot category.html like that. And we should be good to go. So basically now what's going to happen, the changes we've made is that inside of that index, our index folder there, we are now at the top here, we are showing the menu based on the categories that exist in the database, okay? And then the other thing that we're doing as well is that once we do that and you click on the on this link, it takes you to this detailed image category page, which will render this HTML that will show all the images, but it's only really going to be showing the URL, I mean the landscape image over here. I haven't done any sizing at all for the images, so I'm just gonna test this and see how, what's gonna happen over here, how this is going to be sized up. So let's run this. Okay, for X in images. Okay, so I have a typo inside of my view function. Nobody told me that for X in images. All right, so for X in images, coolio. And then URL pattern category has a root beginning with that. Remove this slash, it's unnecessary. All right, so what I need to do is that instead of my URLs, I don't need to start it like that. Actually, this is your rookie mistake. All right, so then let's go back. Let's see. All right, so let's play that. So we still have everything in there. Okay, let's click on technology, for example, and see what happens. Context is not defined. All right, yeah, that's a stupid mistake as well on my side here. So I need to just say to define the context first as an object. All right, so this context is just a blank object for now, and then we feed into that context. Yeah, I do this all the time. I'm assuming that I've defined it already somewhere, but I had not. Okay. Right, okay, so that's running already. Let's replay that. Okay, it actually sized it pretty nicely. Look at that. Awesome. So now this is images technology, okay? Or maybe let me rather say technology images, or just say technology. So instead of category, the way I say images, this, that, let me just remove that. Let me just say technology. All right. And you see technology has got 6 images. So they are all showing the date that I uploaded the image. That's the image. All right. And there's more images there. And as you add more and more, so maybe later on in another tutorial, we might just only want to show the first 6 and do some pagination over there. But I won't cover that now. Let's go back to the home page. So that link works as well. Let's go to gardening. If you go to gardening, it's now the images that are downloaded under gardening. You see them appearing like that. And we had 6 images over there. And you can go back home and you go to office, and then you'll see these are the images that we had loaded under office. Okay, I made sure I had 6 images for offices. And then if you go to sporting, there's nothing under sporting because we had not uploaded something. So maybe what I want to do here is just sort of like, get a message here that says, for example, display this only if there was an image. So let's say we can, sorry, what am I saying? So we can have like a conditional over here that says if images, all right, if images length is greater than 0, what this does is that it checks for these images, right? In these images, if the length was greater than 0, then it will display that, right? So in case it was not greater than 0, like there was no images to display, you can just maybe display an H2 that says no images uploaded for this category, right? No images uploaded for this category. And then the other thing that I also want to do is that inside of the views over here, I'm going to also limit the number of images that get sent over from the database. I'm showing you now how to do that. Let's say I only want to collect 6 images in a situation where in the front page there you saw there were 7 images, for example. So I want to only see the top 6 images. Later on, I will do some pagination stuff, but I'm not going to do this in this tutorial today. It's already going too long. So I'm going to do just that. That's the only thing I'm going to do for now, so that I limit the number of images. Right, okay, limit images to 6. So if we refresh this page now, it should now say no images uploaded for this category. So the user should see something, okay, sporting, nothing was uploaded. So we go back home and we go to gardening. Okay, we have 6, and then we go back home. I think it was that technology that had more than 6, and you'll see now it's only showing 6 because I wanted it to only show the top 6 if there's more than 6 images inside of the database. So basically that's how you do it. Okay, so then currently it's showing, you can see these dimensions are almost perfect, right? So I want to show you, and the last thing I want to do is to do the detailed page, and you'll see now it says read more, okay, which is what I added over there, and view. Maybe this view I should actually remove it completely, because someone wants to read more, they can just click on the read more. Or should I leave it there? Okay, let me leave it. But let me change it. Instead of it saying view, let me say image details. Like that. And then I want it now to take me to a detailed page where I'm going to see the details of the images, all right? And let me go and look at this. Let me go back home and let me look at sporting, which has nothing, and see if I can actually use this template. All right, actually I think I can. Back to the top, getting started guide. So what I'm going to do is that I need another HTML that I'm going to use now to display the details. So if somebody clicks on a detailed image, I want to show now, remember we actually uploaded 3 different types of images, the tall one, the landscape one, and the square one. I want to show all that, and then I want to show the description so you can see more information about the image. So what I'm going to do is, the first thing is let's start at the beginning with the URLs. So we're going to start by creating a URL for the detailed image. Okay, so to do that I'm going to call it actually this should have been category detail. So I'm going to call this image detail. Yeah, image detail, and then I'm going to call this image detail page. And then instead of category, it's going to be let's say it's going to be category. Let's leave that like that, and then let's add another slug. Okay, so let's now create the view function for this. We're going to copy that, and we're going to go underneath there. Let's just make some space. Okay, so we're going to go def, paste that in there. We need the request. Then remember, we've got 2 slugs over here. We've got slug 1, we've got slug 2. All right, slug 1, slug 2. Slug 1 is going to be the slug of the category, and the slug 2 is going to be the slug of the image itself. And then we're going to use both the slugs to be able to route to this page. All right, so we've got the slug of the category, and we've got the slug of the image itself. And then we're going to then display something. Let's just copy that and paste that in there. So for now, we're going to leave that blank because we don't have the page yet. but definitely we'll have the context already. So let's define the context. All right, define it as that. And then we're going to use these two slugs to collect the category. All right, so we're going to say the category is equals to that. We're going to actually, we can just copy what's in there and paste it in there. And then remember, we're using slug 1. And then the image itself that we're looking for is the exact same thing. Instead, it's the image. All right, and it is slug 2. Category is equals to category. Then we're going to send the context image. Image is equals to image. All right, that's basically all we need. All right, so we're going to build an HTML file over here, and we're going to call this image.html. all right, which means that inside of the view, then we can copy all of that and paste it in there and refer to the image.html. Then in the image, we can then get the image itself, and we can get the category, and we can render an HTML page. Okay, so let's look at our category.html. Let's actually just copy off of this. All right, so I'm going to just copy this HTML and use like a similar HTML in the image. All right, and over here I'm going to delete that. All right, and instead of your category.title, we can leave that open because we will have the category in here. And then this is a row. All right, so actually I can just use a normal row. Okay, all right, and so there'll be a row, there'll be a break, there'll be another row, there'll be a description over there, and the images will be shown there, the category title. Okay, so now to route to this detailed category page, remember we need the two slugs. Okay, so let's go back to our URLs and just copy the name of the URL. Okay, so inside of the category HTML over here, we need to route to it in the read more. Okay, so it's going to be a URL. That's the name of the URL. We need two slugs. The first slug 1, is equals to the category dot slug. Okay, the next one, slug 2, is equals to the image dot slug. All right, and the image is this image there. All right, is this image there, which is being sent from the top there, and the category is that category also, which is being sent to the if you look at a view function, we are sending the category over there, and then the images comes from the list. Okay, so if you then use the same URL route here, and you copied it even on the button, it should also work. Okay, and then the next thing that we want to do is let's actually copy it from the index, this image category.slug. All right, is that at the top here, inside of the image inside of the image here, remember where do we display the image category.title? Here at the top. Okay, in case somebody wanted to route back to that category. All right, that's why we have that first slug. All right, they could press on the title and it will take them back to the category page. So if you press on the title, you go back to the category page, and this is the detail. You'll see the detailed page, and then you can always navigate in between all of that. All right, so let's save and have a look at this. Okay, it might not look the best, but it will work. Okay, main image.html. I've got a mistake over here inside of the views. There's two strings in here. Okay, we do that. So I'm going to run this again because it actually crashed the first. Okay, that's okay, so that's gone. All right, so I'm going to now refresh this. You don't see anything over there, but we can go back home and try a different one like gardening. All right, so what happened over there? So category.html button. So this needs to be closed in there like that. So this button closes. And anyway, to be on the safe side, perhaps let's leave the button alone, okay? And let's put the anchor inside, just around the, the writing instead of the button. Oh no, let's not do it like that. Let's put it around the button. So we had sort of closed up the, the closing slash for the button. So let's test this again. Okay. Let's, okay, that's okay. That's better. All right. So now when you click on this image details, it should take you to the detailed page for this. All right. And just like I suspected, yeah, I didn't size my image properly. My image is terrible. I need to resize it better. But you can see, if you actually think about it, this is the tall image somewhere over there. And yeah, this is bad. So, and then you can, but at least the links work. Let's click on this one. This is also very, very bad. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to Google, I'm going to say Bootstrap image fluid. Okay, fluid image, because there's no styling around the image, so it looks really bad. So let's try and find responsive image. Okay, so what we're going to do is that we're going to use this class, okay, inside of the image, and see if that helps the image a little bit more. So if you go to the image detailed page over there, I'm going to say class. All right, and let's copy that and use it in all of this so that it fits the image inside of the available space. All right. No, the class should not be inside of the div, inside of the image. Yeah, inside of the image, like that. Okay. Let's try this. Right, let's refresh that. That looks a little bit better. So the tall image took that whole space for the tall image. And then this is the landscape image. This is the other one. Okay, so this was supposed to come underneath that. The square should have been, what I was envisioning was the square image perhaps at the top and the landscape image there. Let's see. But you can see this is the tall image over here that's taking that whole space there. All right, and then over here, maybe the square image should come first. So what did I do here? So I have column LG6. All right, and then over here I have row. All right, and then inside of the row I have so this column LG6 in there. So I have another row. I have LG6. Oh yeah, let me have this LG12. Yeah, this is taking up LG12. So that at least there's a little bit more. Or should have rather have had the square and the whatever one, and then it would have been the same thing. All right, I'm sure there's a better way to display this later on. And if you're a designer, I mean, we're welcome with your feedback. Let us know. That's a little bit better. So what you'll see here is that this is now the, the first one, which is this image over here is the landscape image, is the one which fills that whole space, the landscape, and then the square image takes up a little bit more space, and it's a little bit almost more balanced. But definitely what you can see here is that the images are different. You can see this is clearly a tall image. This is clearly a square image. Even though I uploaded the exact same image, I used Django Resized over here in the model to get different sizes for different images. So when I want to post to Instagram, I'll post this image. When I want to post to Facebook, I'll post this one. And when I want to post to Instagram, the other place, where they use tall images, I'll post that one, for example. And if I go back to the categories, I can see all the other categories. And let's say I want to see now that image, I can also click over there to see the detailed page for that. And you'll see over there, that's what that detailed page looks like. All right, you can go back to gardening. You can go back to the home page. And for example, I can pick technology instead. And let's pick one of the images over here, the one with the robot. Let's check those details, and you can see over here, maybe let's put some spaces in here in between these two images. So if I go into the index over there, what I want to do is not the index, the image page there. what I want to do here is actually rather create a break and a row, another row, and put the other image in there. Because I don't want the images to sort of connect too closely to each other. And there you go. Now we've got some spacing, and it's clearer that this is landscape, clearer this is square. You know, you go back to technology over there. Let's say we click on this one. Maybe we should even link the image itself. If somebody clicks there, you can see the different type images, right? So if I now go and copy image address, right, and I paste the image address over here, all right, you see this is the physical image location. So once I've loaded this on an HTTPS server, this is the location that I'm going to give to to Instagram or to Facebook. Whenever I'm trying to send this via an API, I will give this URL of the actual image location, and I'll be able to share it with those social media platforms. And I think I'll do that tutorial in the future, where I show you, once you've created a website like this and you've got all your images in one place. Let's look at the office images, for example. You've got all your images in one place, and you want to create social media posts. You want to send this to Facebook. You want to send this to Instagram. You want to send this to, Pinterest at the same time using those APIs. Perhaps we'll do a tutorial like that in the future and show you how to do that. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you again next week with another exciting Django tutorial.